Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the January 3rd Impact Review. Now, one thing that we as wrestling fans care about, will the promotion do better the next year when the year is up? WWE and TNA is still out. We won't probably know until maybe a couple of months from now if they've been doing something proper. Now, I wish to say that I think TNA did something interesting here, but does not mean the product is better. This is still a filler pay-per-view that's coming up, and we're talking about Genesis. So let's get into what we got. Wrestler of the Year, which is a bite-off of the Slammies with TNA following the WWE, which I'm kind of hoping was an actual vote. Probably wasn't, because Jeff Hardy won, and you have basically Austin Aries, the greatest man that ever lived. And you had Rude saying, both of them, we deserve it. Hardy beats their ass, but before he does that, he says, let's have a three-way at Genesis for the title. I was kind of hoping they would also go for the Wrestler of the Year. That would have been a nice twist. I was hoping he was going to say that, but he didn't. But you know what? It's alright. It still means that we have a match into Genesis. Let's leave it at that. Afterwards, Storm and Kazarian and Daniels. You know what? I'm really hoping that Daniels and Storm have a feud. I really am. I'm begging for Storm and Daniels to have a feud for the simple fact that I really believe they'll have more chemistry. Not saying that Kazarian and that Storm haven't faced each other over the years and don't have chemistry. It's fine. But the thing is, this heel and face were not as strong as Daniels could be. Think of it like this. Kaz and Storm. Kaz goes in the match. It wasn't a very long one. Storm wins. It felt very empty. You needed someone who has more charisma, more evilness as a heel, and Kaz is not pulling that off compared to Daniels. So I'm hoping for that. Now, let's get this over with. You having Supermet versus Matt Morgan. The Blueprint. Here's a problem. When they had their backstage, I really believe that Hernandez should have said something more than just whistle. Was not enough for me. Like I said before in more than a few of my Impact reviews, Hernandez needs to talk from time to time. I know he's a strong and silent type, and I'm sure people are going to probably say, dude, let it go, they're not going to do it. I understand that. TNA is not going to have Hernandez talk, or Hernandez himself just doesn't want to talk. But sometimes a character like him must say something from time to time. If you do not have a character that is like that, speak once in a while, the segment that you're trying to promote does not work. Having Chavo is no better than having Anarquia in Mexican America. It didn't work when the promos came out because Anarquia wasn't a great talker and it just felt flat. Chavo isn't a bad talker. He's not. But in this case, this is between Hernandez and Matt Morgan. I would have felt a much better connection for Hernandez facing Matt Morgan than Chavo facing Matt Morgan. Because this felt like Chavo was about to face Matt Morgan. That's how it felt to me. So really, Hernandez could have said, your ass is going down. Or I'm going to beat your ass. You're ended. Something. I would have felt something better. But I can't say that when they went to the match, it's not bad, no. Seeing Matt in a sling, saying that you're in the gym and you're in 700 or 800 pounds and like your job, you're going to get hurt, son. Well, not those many words, but having him throw Ryan to the dog, or the lions, whatever you want to call it, having him go down there was funny because he's going, what? No, with the toothpick in his mouth. And then he says, all right, fine. Goes in there, strips, and then grabs a baby oil out of his back. Rubs it all over himself like, I'm thinking about, I am thinking about Randy Orton and what he does before he goes out to a match going, yeah. So you've seen this, you could think of Randy Orton and why he got in trouble with the wellness program. Now the match was short. There was no winner. You got a carbon footprint to Chavo, and you got a discus forearm basically to Hernandez. I'm alright with it. For the simple fact it's leading into Genesis, they're going to have a match. I do have to say this, and I'll probably repeat this in my predictions. If they do not let these two have the belts now, if they don't, if they drag this on or never let them have it, what was the point of putting Ryan and Morgan together? You want to get Morgan over. Let him win the belt with Ryan and then split them off afterward and let him go to the main title scene. This is stupid if it doesn't happen. Now, York versus Cash. And I wish to say two things here. I didn't say this when I was talking about Storm and Kazarian Daniels. Kazarian did a funny imitation of Storm, which I did like. And when Kenny King, long live the King, baby, talk and basically tried to make himself more over with Cash didn't seem he wanted to go that way. But simply, you know what? It's okay. I didn't mind the segment. York versus Kid Cash wasn't a bad thought at that moment. And now Zema Ion versus Kenny King the next week leads up into Genesis, which makes sense. Which is fine. It's a good thing. I don't mind it. But I do mind what happened during the match between York and Cash. I think the problem here is this. No, two things. Either York was under the weather or was not himself, or he needs to change how he does his wrestling style. Because he still acts like an X Division type of wrestler, trying to do high spot, high moves, high impacts to go with those moves. Now, the problem here is this, ladies and gentlemen. You know that with X Division, it's a cruiserweight type of division. The problem is with bigger men, they can't perform the same movements. So it looks sloppy in the ring. So I really believe that if he wasn't on his game that day, he really needs to change his technique. Because there were some places where he really looked like he was very sloppy. Or looked a little confused. I really, really believe that he needs to change his technique to more of a ground and pound technical type of tactic. Not completely. I still want to see him do some X Division movements. He can do them. But because he's such a big guy now, he's not a very tall man, but he's a very thick man. So I really believe that he's not doing that well. And he needs to change his style up a little bit. Hopefully he will with time. But if he doesn't, we have a problem with Christian York. Christian York needs to change how he does his X Division type of moves. And if he has to cut out half those moves and go to a ground and pound technical type of technique along with a few spots, this is what I'm seeing. He does win, so when it comes to Genesis, he'll be facing somebody. So I hope, beyond hope, this will work out. Let's see here. Joseph Parks. I'm very glad they're still doing OVW with Joseph Parks. Two things with this. Keeping this up with Joseph Parks, especially with the trainer Davey, I believe his name is, Davis, sorry. Davis putting over Joseph Parks was a good thing. I actually enjoyed it. I'm very, very glad they're still doing it. I'm very glad that they're showing footage of him learning how to do it. Also, how he's practicing in the ring, and him saying basically, I have a lot to learn. But this is no different than football, than going to law school. I just got to put myself in it and be a student of the game. I actually enjoyed that segment. Out of all the segments I saw, that was the only one I really enjoyed very much. And at the end, seeing Joseph Park go and see Davis, and then talking to him and thanking him, and saying that you're going to get your shot. Two things with that. One, that's good. They're going to probably bring him back at one point, maybe at Genesis. Two, I'm hoping they'll have him go back to OVW. If he has one match, if it's at Genesis, fine. Have him go back to OVW and continue training for a little while longer. Having him only going for a couple of weeks is not enough. Keep the Joseph Park character going back to OVW for a little while, and then start featuring a couple of other people along with Parks. That would be good. Show us Silva. Show anyone else. Hell, if Jesse Sorensen finally comes back, let him go to OVW and let him start getting featured the same way. This is great to show your developmental territory on your national promotion. I say this myself because if I had made up like I did on one of my videos, what type of promotion I would make, I would feature my developmental territory, my developmental promotion as much as I can, but not overwhelming it. TNA, if they do this, this is how OVW is going to get more promotion. Remember, it's a separate company. They need to make money. This is how you get your other company money, so you can get more wrestlers, more seasoned wrestlers, more properly trained wrestlers. This is how you do it. And I'm hoping they do this. Knockouts tag team. Seeing all 4 women exercising was not bad. Seeing Tessmacher bend that ass over, not bad. But seeing Mickie Jane, I liked it. Still love the cleavage. And this is leading into the entire show. I'm not going to get into detail, but Mickie Jane wins. I can say this, the match wasn't bad, and I also wish to say the crowd throughout the night was actually not bad at all. Keep up doing live events, TNA. If you can't do 2 a month, keep doing 1 a month. This will drum up more publicity for you, more interest from the fans who go to the shows and the ones that are going to be watching. Hearing the fans instead of canned heat, you can hear the vast difference. I'm not saying they didn't do canned heat, but you can see in the background, people were cheering. Like this. You can see it. You can see them cheering. You can see them truly enjoying the show. Booing for who they want to boo for. Sorry. Cheering for who they want to cheer for. Hearing someone say, hey, you're a power couple, to basically Bully Ray and the Brooke, which I'll get to last. But this is how you do it. And also, Mickie Jane must turn heel soon. I love Mickie Jane. I love that Patuatan. I believe I'm pronouncing her tribe wrong. Patuatan, or I think, like Padawan almost. I'm pronouncing her tribe wrong. I'm sorry, I'm botching it. But this beautiful Native American woman really needs a heel turn now. She's been a face for too long. She's become stale and stuck in the same position. She feels like Cena almost. And I don't even want to compare her to Cena. But that's how it feels for her. She's been a face for quite a while, and she needs a heel turn. So I'm hoping by Lockdown, if I'm really hoping by Genesis, but Lockdown will probably be the latest. If she's not turned heel eventually, she's going to become totally and completely irrelevant. And I don't want that from such a gorgeous woman. Finally. Oh no. I should do this first. Steel Cage. Angle and Joe versus A&8. Angle being kicked out of the ring and out of the cage first before they lock it. Doc locks it up. And I wish to say that the segment... Look. The 2 segments that A&8 had, just... The first one kind of fell flat. The second one was okay. But... Really... This steel cage, really... It was interesting. Because Joe was one who carried the entire match. That's how I feel it. I'm hoping one day they'll allow Joe either to go into the title scene for the World Championship or let him go back. I can't remember if he was a World Champion at one time. If he has been, let him go back. It's been a while since he won the World title. I would love to see Joe become a World Championship again or for the first time. But Joe was fine with this. He was one that was featured. He did a good job. When Angle came in, and I don't hate Angle, it's something I've seen before. I wasn't bored with it, but just wasn't as interesting as seeing Joe. Seeing Mike Knox revealed after basically he gets his ass whooped, and Sting comes out, and I will say that in a minute, but getting his ass whooped and seeing Mike Knox, interesting. But if they're going to keep revealing one at a time, if they don't end this by lockdown, the smell of their death will destroy TNA and make WWE smell way better. Let's just hope they don't do that. But honestly, this was, at the beginning, not a bad match. In the middle, it wasn't a bad match. At the end of a reveal, wasn't too bad. The thing I was actually quite surprised about was Sting did not come in with any music, which was kind of refreshing. Usually, a guy who's coming back after a while gets a reveal of his music. He either walks down, but usually runs down to attack. Seeing Sting just come in to do business was actually a very good thing. But seeing Sting kick everyone's ass with that bat, I didn't like it. Sting didn't get hit once, and that ruined it for me. Seeing Sting get beat down a little bit, then get back up, and then win would have felt more better. But that's how it was. And I wasn't too fond of that with Sting. If he was going to be doing that, I want him to be the underdog. I want him to rise, not already be at the top and then kick everybody's ass under it. It just didn't feel right. Now the final thing I'm going to bring up is Brooke, Hogan, and Bully Ray. And my thoughts will be after what I think about this. But seeing Brooke and seeing Bully Ray facing Hogan was what was finally needed. They needed to do this, and there needed to be some type of some type of blow off. But seeing this was actually quite surprising to see that Hogan said, we have a certain type of rules and laws and things you don't cross, and pretty much Bully Ray crossed it, and he said, you know something, brother? There's a certain law that wrestlers follow, and you cross the line, and you want to go by your own rules. I'm going to go by your rules, since you don't want to go by the old style rules. You're indefinitely suspended without pay. Now get the hell out of my ring. And then him saying to his daughter, simply, and you can go with him. Get your ass out of my ring. Not that you're fired, not you're suspended. She's still the VP of the Knockouts. She still has a job, but she's been told, get the hell out of my ring, and her mouth wide open. And hearing them both say, you can't do this. Why? What's the point? And seeing, and this is what gave me a hint about something I'll mention at the end. Bully Ray grabbing her from here. Not from here as a couple, but from here. Maybe just realize something. Now, how do I rate this show? Honestly, I originally thought of giving this a B-, but I'm going to give it a B for the simple fact is this. The segments that were important and need to be done were not done at the last minute. We have 4 matches that are now been slated for Genesis. Tag Team Championships. We know that's going to happen. X Division Championship. And a match before that for who is going to face RVD. Now that's not bad. We now know that Mike Knox is a part of Aces and Eights, which is, they need to do a reveal, so they did one. I'm not too fond of it. Seeing a steel cage match was actually not something I was expecting. And then seeing that Joe was the one that shined made me happy. It wasn't Angle that shined. It wasn't Devon that shined. It wasn't Mike Knox that shined. It was Joe who shined. So that made me happy. The Brooke Hogan, Bully Ray, and Hulk Hogan segment was not too long. It was condensed down to under 10 minutes, maybe about 8 minutes. It did what it needed to do, which was important. The opening of the show with the rest of the year, I still feel it might have been fixed. And if it wasn't fixed and people voted for it, I'm okay with it. Either way, I was okay with it because seeing Jeff Hardy do his Road to Redemption made sense. I, my personal self, would have liked to see Austin Aries get the championship. No, not the championship. the Wrestler of the Year award because he did the most work. But you know what? It was okay. A B show. Not a great B show, but a solid B show that did lead up into the next show, which is a go-home show that will lead into Genesis. You need to get your stuff done earlier than the last show to get it done. That's what WWE's been doing, and more than a couple of times TNA's been doing it. So I'm glad at least 4 matches have already been slated. Now, my thoughts on the segment between the Hogans and Bully Ray. This is what I'm thinking, and I may put this in the title. Is Brooke the president of A&8? When you really see how the structure of the show has been in the last 7 months, Brooke has been featured most of the time and has dealt with aces and eights. They have not touched her. Not saying they're supposed to touch a woman anyway. But the thing is that the person who's the vice president, it has to be Bully Ray. If Brooke Hogan, if I'm wrong, fine. I was wrong about Garrett Bischoff, no problem. I don't have a problem with being wrong. I'm still a novice at this. But if Brooke Hogan is the one who's the head of Aces and Eights, and I believe the Off the Rope show had thought about this maybe about 5 months ago. Maybe it could have been Brooke Hogan. I think the Slug Daddy may have said it maybe once. But if she is the one that's there, the person who has to be the vice president has to be Bully Ray. So he's a double agent. He's acting as a face, but he's really a heel. And he has tricked his own brother, which would make some sense. I wouldn't mind seeing it that way. And then at the end, if I'm correct, the Dudley boys will probably come back together. I'm not saying they will, but it feels like this might happen because both Devon and Bully Ray have been good together. And I don't think they're just going to split them off permanently as tag team competitors. They're eventually going to bring them back. If I am right, and I'm kind of hoping I'm not, it'll be kind of a shocker, but if I am right, once Bully Ray has been revealed as vice president, and you know that Brooke is the president, eventually you'll see them back together, and then you will see Bully Ray and Brooke as a power couple, kind of like Helmsley and McMahon. They'll probably even have a wedding on TNA to just show their dominance. But that also means Aces and Eights are going to continue, if that's true. And I'm not going to be fond of it. I will be truthful. It'll be no better than Immortal. I will be very upset about it. But you know what? It will be a nice twist. And this will also see if Brooke has the capability of doing a good storyline. Because let's be honest, Karen Jarrett, Miss Horse-Base, I don't even want to call her anything else than a horse-faced bitch. I'm sorry I said horse-base. Look, she's not an ugly woman. She had a pair of tits. She's tall. Her ass wasn't that bad, but she couldn't act for shit. She could not act. She sucked. She honestly sucked. I didn't like it. And the one who will not be named was pushing her ass very hard. So seeing Brooke will be something different. And I'm hoping she'll be the one that will make it work. So I hope you enjoyed the Zane's view of Impact January 3rd, 2013. Subscribe and comment to Zane's view. I will be getting my SmackDown review done as soon as possible. Please have a good day and a good night.